Every 4th of July, Americans gather with family and friends to celebrate freedom, barbecue, and of course, fireworks. But behind the bright lights and thunderous booms lies a darker history. Fireworks stands dot the landscape every summer, promising excitement and spectacle. Yet some of the most terrifying moments in holiday celebrations have happened right at these roadside vendors. Today we're sharing 3 truly horrifying but completely real stories of 4th of July fireworks stand disasters. These are not exaggerated tales. They're documented incidents that changed lives forever. The first story takes us back to a sweltering June afternoon in 1998. A fireworks stand operated by 2 brothers sat at the edge of a dusty rural highway in Texas. The structure was nothing fancy, just a wooden shack with faded red and white paint, cardboard boxes stacked haphazardly inside, and shelves crammed with Roman candles, mortars, and illegal M80 firecrackers. The stand had become a summer institution in the small town, and locals knew to stop by weeks before the holiday. On this particular day, the younger brother, Marcus, was working alone. Marcus was in his early 20s, wearing a faded gray t-shirt and khaki shorts. He'd been manning the stand since morning, selling to customers eager to stock up on explosives. Around 4 in the afternoon, a customer approached wanting to see the biggest mortar shells available. Marcus reached toward the top shelf, where the most powerful fireworks were stored, but he didn't realize something catastrophic was about to happen. The wooden shelf had been warping in the intense Texas heat all summer long. As Marcus's hand touched one of the boxes, the entire upper shelf gave way. Dozens of unopened firework boxes came crashing down. In a moment of panic, Marcus tried to catch them, but this proved to be a fatal mistake. When the boxes hit the ground with force, the friction and impact triggered an unexpected chain reaction. One of the illegal M80 packs ignited on impact, causing a small explosion. This ignition spread to nearby boxes, and within seconds the entire shelf's contents erupted into a catastrophic indoor fireworks display. The explosion was powerful enough to blow out the wooden walls of the shack. Marcus was standing directly underneath when it happened. He suffered severe burns across 60% of his body, with the most devastating injuries on his arms, chest, and face. Emergency responders arrived within 15 minutes, but the damage was already done. Marcus spent 3 months in a specialized burn unit, undergoing multiple surgeries. He survived, but he was permanently scarred. His hands required skin grafts and years of physical therapy. More tragically, Marcus never worked with fireworks again, and the psychological trauma haunted him for the rest of his life. The second story happened nearly 2 decades later, in 2016. A fireworks stand in a busy shopping center parking lot in California seemed like a legitimate operation. The owners had all proper licenses, or so they claimed. The stand featured a colorful awning and professional-looking wooden display cases. Inside, everything appeared organized and safe. A middle-aged man named Robert worked the register most afternoons. Robert was wearing a khaki safety vest over a light blue collared shirt and jeans. He had been trained, or at least that's what management said. One busy Saturday afternoon, just 5 days before the 4th, a young couple came in looking for Roman candles. The store was crowded with last-minute shoppers, and the atmosphere felt rushed and chaotic. Robert pulled out several boxes from a display case and set them on the counter. What he didn't know was that one of the boxes had already been damaged during shipping. A small crack ran along the side of one particular Roman candle box, exposing the explosive powder inside. As Robert rang up the purchase, the customer leaned in to inspect the product more closely, placing their hand directly on the damaged section. The friction from their fingers sliding across the exposed powder created just enough heat to initiate a small spark. Within fractions of a second, the damaged box ignited. The explosion was smaller than you might expect, but it was catastrophic in its own way. Robert took the brunt of the blast directly in the face and upper body. His safety vest provided some protection for his torso, but his face, neck, and hands were severely burned. The young couple was knocked backward and sustained injuries as well, though less severe than Robert's. Emergency vehicles arrived quickly, as the shopping center had immediate access to first responders. Robert was airlifted to a trauma center with burns covering nearly 40% of his body. He lost vision in one eye permanently and spent months in recovery. Worse, he developed severe psychological trauma and anxiety disorder. He could no longer work in retail environments, and eventually had to file for disability. His once promising career was completely derailed by a single moment of bad luck and negligence. The third and final story is perhaps the most chilling, because it could have been prevented entirely. It took place in a rural fireworks stand in Oklahoma during the summer of 2019. The stand was old, weathered, and poorly maintained. The owner, a man in his 60s named Harold, ran the operation with minimal regard for safety protocols. Harold wore a stained gray work shirt and faded jeans, with singed eyebrows and scarred hands that told the story of years of carelessness. His stand was essentially a converted storage shed with exposed wooden beams and a corrugated metal roof that had begun to rust. Inside, fireworks were stored haphazardly on makeshift shelves made from pallets and 2x4s. There was no climate control, no fire suppression system, and no emergency procedures in place. On a particularly hot July afternoon, the temperature inside the shed reached well over 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Harold's daughter, Jennifer, was helping him that day. Jennifer was in her late 20s, wearing a white tank top and denim shorts. She was frustrated with the conditions but needed the summer income. Jennifer noticed that several of the cardboard boxes had become soft and warped from the extreme heat. She mentioned this to her father, but Harold dismissed her concerns. He'd been running the stand for 30 years without incident, he said, and he wasn't about to change anything now. What Harold didn't know was that the intense heat had begun to degrade the stability of the explosive compounds inside the boxes. Fireworks are designed to function under specific temperature conditions. When those conditions are exceeded, chemical reactions can become unpredictable and dangerous. Jennifer continued working, moving boxes from one shelf to another. She was trying to organize the inventory when she accidentally dropped a box of bottle rockets. The box hit the ground and split open, scattering dozens of small fireworks across the wooden floor. Harold, annoyed by the clumsiness, bent down to pick them up quickly. As he gathered the scattered bottle rockets, he created friction between the damaged devices and the hot wooden floor. The combination of heat, friction, and degraded explosive material proved catastrophic. A bottle rocket ignited, then another, and suddenly the entire pile began to detonate in rapid succession. The chain reaction spread to nearby boxes on the lower shelves. Within seconds, the entire shed was engulfed in flames and explosions. Harold was caught in the middle of the inferno. He suffered third-degree burns across 80% of his body, with injuries so severe that he was airlifted by helicopter to a specialized burn center over 100 miles away. Jennifer managed to escape the shed, but suffered second- and third-degree burns on her legs and back. She was treated and released after 2 weeks, but the psychological scars would last much longer. Harold did not survive his injuries. He passed away 6 weeks after the incident from complications related to his extensive burns and infections. His death was ruled a tragedy, but it was entirely preventable. An autopsy investigation and subsequent inquiry revealed that the shed had never been properly inspected. No insurance company had ever evaluated the storage conditions, and Harold had willfully ignored every safety regulation in the fireworks industry guidelines. These 3 stories share common threads. First, they all involved human error and negligence. In Marcus's case, it was poor maintenance of the facility. In Robert's case, it was a lack of proper quality control and inspection procedures. In Harold's case, it was deliberate disregard for safety protocols. Second, all 3 incidents occurred during peak summer season when temperatures were dangerously high and demand for fireworks was at its peak. The intense heat accelerated chemical degradation and made accidents far more likely. Third, none of the victims or their families pursued legal action aggressively, partly due to the legal liability that came with purchasing fireworks in the first place. If you or someone you know plans to purchase fireworks this summer, please follow these critical safety guidelines. First, always purchase from reputable vendors with proper licensing and insurance. Second, inspect all products before buying them. Look for damage, discoloration, or moisture. Third, store fireworks in a cool, dry place away from heat sources. Fourth, never try to fix or modify fireworks. Fifth, follow all manufacturer instructions and local laws. Never leave children unsupervised around fireworks. And seventh, if something feels unsafe or wrong, trust your instincts and leave. The 4th of July should be a celebration, not a tragedy. By respecting the power of fireworks and following safety protocols, we can enjoy the holiday without suffering the horrifying consequences that befell Marcus, Robert, Jennifer, and Harold. Stay safe this summer, and remember that some moments of carelessness can haunt you for a lifetime.